Can I just ask everyone to take their seat? The ceremony will start shortly. Debiadim, or good morning everybody. Just as a matter of housekeeping, can I ask everyone to either turn their phones off or put them on silent so they don't interrupt this ceremony. Just as a matter of protocol, and before I begin, I'd like to first acknowledge the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji people as the traditional custodians and lawmakers of Gimuy, the lands where we are gathered today, the lands of which justice is administered. I also want to pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and I extend that respect to other First Nations people that are here with us today, and I acknowledge your country and your elders. I'd also like to warmly welcome and give a special acknowledgement to our valued dignitaries and guests present today. I welcome Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Queensland, the Honourable Helen Boskill, the Honourable Curtis Pitt MP, State Member for Clayfield, Shadow Attorney General, Shadow Minister for Justice, Shadow Minister for CBD Activation, Tim Nichols MP, the Honourable Justice Deborah Mullins AO, President of the Queensland Court of Appeal, the Honourable Justice Bodice of the Queensland Court of Appeal, the Honourable Justice North of the Supreme Court of Queensland, the Honourable Justice Henry of the Supreme Court of Queensland, who I understand was one of the key organisers and one of the strongest supporters for this important ceremony today. Mayor Amy Eden, Cairns Regional Council, retired Judge of the Supreme Court, the Honourable Stanley Jones. I also welcome all District Court judges, the Honourable Judge Deborah SC, Chief Judge of the District Court, Her Honour Judge Fanton, His Honour Judge Morzone KC, Her Honour Judge McGuinness. Additionally, I welcome the Deputy Chief Magistrate Anthony Gett, Magistrates Pearson, Scoynes, Morton, Brown, McLennan and Luxton. I also extend that welcome to the Coroner, Stephanie Williams. The elected member for Division 7, Amy Middleton, the Cairns Regional Council, members of the legal profession, registrars, court staff, distinguished guests, all, welcome to this historic annual event, the 2024-25 opening of the Law Year ceremony. In my language, I'd just like to quickly introduce myself by saying Karanai Dike Sizak Maza, Karaget Mer, Karabuai Giz Kometle, Kabob Maza Irabe, Aweswa, Gege Ralu Kimle, Gimuy Rabuai Giz. My name is Sizak Maza. I'm a proud Murray Islander through my father, Bob Maza. I'm from the Comet clan. My totem is the gecko. I am also a proud Yidinji man, and I'm currently working and living here on country in Cairns. As the Commissioner for the Office of the Commissioner Merabara Muska Kizil Kizipa, I was first appointed in July of 2021. And I'd just like to quickly just give some brief background about what I do. And in 2020, the Queensland Government, with bipartisan support, introduced groundbreaking legislation that legally recognised the outcomes achieved by Torres Strait Islander families' continued use of their traditional child-rearing practices. This legislation was historic. It was a historic first for Australia, marking the first piece of legislation to use First Nation languages in a Queensland law title. The words Meraba Umasker Kizil Kizipa translate into English to mean for our children's children. The Act, the Maraba Umaska Kizil Kazipa Torres Strait Islander Traditional Child Rearing Practice Act is significant. It is arguably the first legislation in Australia to recognise an Indigenous customary law as part of a law or state of a territory. The benefits of the Act are substantial. Before its introduction, Torres Strait Islander family relationships were never fully recognised in law, and I would characterise this legal recognition through this Act as one of the greatest acts of reconciliation in this nation. The Act sets a significant precedent by allowing for the making of a cultural recognition order. This order permanently transfers parentage from birth parents to the cultural parents. The process results in a new birth certificate. That new birth certificate reflects the cultural identity and the lived experience of that family. Effectively, it recognises Torres Strait Islander law and makes it Queensland law. Excuse me. Whilst I recognise the importance of this legislation, I equally recognise the profound significance of this event. This opening of the Law Year ceremony in far north Queensland is unique. This opening serves as a powerful symbol of the convergence of two ancient legal systems. This event unites the judiciary, the legal profession, and the traditional custodians of the land, the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji people, who are the ancient keepers of their Indigenous customary laws here in Gimuy. This gathering is more than a ceremonial occasion. It is an invitation for us all to engage in shared reflection. It is an opportunity to recommit our vows in administering justice in accordance with the law, and to also partake in the wisdom, the knowledge, and the generosity of spirit of the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji people. Their willingness to freely share their cultural heritage exemplifies with us their unwavering benevolence. This event serves as a reminder of the importance of integrating Indigenous perspectives into our legal system, fostering mutual respect and understanding as we move forward together. Without further ado, can I please ask you to all stand for the arrival of the ceremonial maces. I'll now welcome Guju 4 Mile, who will do the welcome to country.
Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, please sit down. I'd just like to welcome everybody here on behalf of my mob and my people as well, on behalf of Gimuy Walubara Yidinji clan of the Yidinji nation. So I'd just like to say, on behalf of my father, welcome to the country, and also in regards to the Yidinji lawmen and elders as well along country. While you're here and come to sit on country, it's also a great way to enjoy, but also at this point in time, we do the law year every year, and we look at how we come together as one. But it's also a matter and a reflection of humanity, because there's a lot of things that have gone wrong in this country. where a lot of our people have been displaced, but also through massacres and stuff like that that happened on country. We do not blame anyone. But when we come to the year and we talk about the law year, but we also talk about truth and treaty and reconciliation, I think this is a place where we're best placed where we, are coming together as people of law and people who uphold the law, especially when we look on country and taking care of country. So I also like to acknowledge all the justices that are here, the Mayor, and also Amy Eden, the Mayor of Cairns, and also many other dignitaries like Yolanda as well, and many of the other dignitaries are here today. It's not only symbolic, but it's meaningful. And I think as we move forward together as a nation, and especially here today as a community of Cairns, but also as two laws coming together. So when we listen and when we talk, sit down, talk, listen, we must be adverse to the facts and the facts of this country and why we sit down together. But I'd like to say welcome, but I'd also like to actually present to the Justice Henry as well. And we've been doing this for a while now. But to also present our flag, to also be flown alongside the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flag and the Australian flag. So again, I'd just like to say thank you and welcome to our country. But as we are and we sit here today, we're also a community of Australians and Yidinji people, but also the community of Cairns. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle, for that welcome. In Yidinji language, Wanjag Garden Karawai. I'm now inviting Ani Karawai to sing for the commencement of the smoking ceremony and the making of the sacred fire.
Good morning, everyone. Angaya Karawai, Daringi, Bunya, Nalan. I'm an elder of the Gimuy Walubara people tribe. I will now sing the smoking chant. Wagaja, wagaja, bure goga. Wagaja, bure goga. Goga, bure goga, goga. Bure bunjan, me. Bure bunjan, me. Bial bore bujal wajal wajul. Wagaja bore gogal. Bore bunjal me 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 me. Oh, be a bore wajol 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 wajol. Oh, one jogaran mudo 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 mudo. Oh, one jogaran bujon 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 mundo. Bonjour, 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 bonjour. Oh, wagaja, wagaja, guga, guga. Wagaja, bore, gogal, gogal, gogal. Bore bunja mi 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 mi. Bore bunja mi 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 mi. Oh, wagaja, wagaja, bore, gogal, 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 gogal. Bial bore, wajol, 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 wajol. Bial bore, wajol, wajol, wajol. Oh, one John, one John, one John, one John, one John.
Country is the producer of the first law, the most important law of all, the natural law that belongs to the land, the seas, the waters, and the winds. These laws can never be governed by humans. These laws are put here by Gabriel Hopi, who is the sacred creator of our people. From the land, the seas, the winds comes the bodies of knowledge, the systems that are then embraced by individuals, families, clans, tribes, and the communities within. As the smoke envelops, please feel a sense of connection. Windubayal is used for many ceremonies. This ritual is an ancient practice. The ritual and ceremony of Unjubayal is not only done here, but is discovered all throughout the globe. In Japan, they do a form of smoking ceremony. In the Americas, you will find the First Nations people also practicing a form of smoking ceremony, or Unjubayal. If you are Catholic, you would know that in the church system, they come down the aisle with the oil burning frankincense and myrrh. This is how we do it here on Yidinji country. Today we burn Gimuy, the white paper bud. Also, kupu from this tree that was planted at the start of negotiations and conversations with the Crown and the people of this homeland here. Yidinji people on Yidinji homeland. Smoking ceremony is also used to welcome. So we welcome you. We introduce you to our language, our customary systems and our laws, our practices. We introduce you to the people embedded from the fabric of the environment that is so important, because as a community we all share, and you, each individual here, are the beneficiaries of these knowledges, these practices, these systems that have been designed, created over many, many thousands of years. Your children, your grandchildren will also be the beneficiaries of the intellectual property and knowledge of the indigenous people. That will only happen when we come together to listen to each other, to have deep, meaningful conversations and business. Our people strive to be successful, not in the trade and commerce world, but in life itself. We strive to be successful, to stay connected to our country, to our system, to our family. When the two laws come together, they might not always see eye to eye, but we can, as a community, move forward. When we talk about democracy in this country, who does it really benefit? Democracy is seen as a fair and just system of law, but when we look at the percentage and the population, sometimes democracy outweighs those that are lesser of the percentage and population. So we must see new ways to come together and hold conversations, to move forward with the survival of our people, which ultimately means the survival of the future generations, no matter what color, what race, what belief system. We ask and we protrude and assert that we do not want to become redundant on our own country and homeland, but we want to move forward as a people to produce a better nation. This smoking ceremony here represents the Yidinji people and a small portion of that customary law and the bodies and the many bodies of knowledge that we hold dearly within our tribal and cultural mannerisms. Myself, Marun, Kukawan, Jurju will now perform Kawal. Kawal is to signify the opening of a ceremony or an event. Kawal simply means to call out. We call out to the spirits of the old people that are still present and living within the land, the waters, seas and winds.
Professor Henrietta Murray AM. She's an elder of the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji people whose embrace of and vision for this event is foundational. Professor Henrietta Murray, I invite you to the microphone for your address.
Good morning, one and all, and thank you, Commissioner Mather, for that introduction. Today, we once again come together to pay our respect to two very different law traditions. The ancient body of customary law of the Yidinji nation and the 1,000-year-old English common law tradition of judge-made law, and to commit to walk side by side to improve relationships and justice. My name is Bukul Bukul, the start of a journey my great-grandfather and my grandfather and parents gave me this name through my very first law ceremony, the fire warming ceremony. As I grew older, I found my way. The path have already been carved out for me. The many milestones I achieved always brought me back home to the first law, to my story places, and understanding much of what I have learned and what I have to give to help the younger generation to keep alive our history and stories that connect us today. Coming together, the path that we as Gimuy Walubara Yidinji must take to honour the memory of our ancestors and to honour the memory of the many Yidinji warriors who have sacrificed, fought and died to preserve the integrity of our nation. I want to once again thank the Honourable Justice Henry and his team for embracing the Walubara Yidinji nation to be part of this great English legal tradition, making the opening of law year 2024 to 2025 at the Gimuy Cairns Courthouse. A tradition now acknowledges and pays respect to the laws and customs by the Yidinji people on our land. I want to remind us all again that 149 years ago, in 1876, this land, our Jabuja, was invaded and settled by the English colonisers. We remember the massacres and the stealing of women and children and the removal of many of our people who were taken to newly established missions and the attempts to subjugate our laws. This land we stand on today is the land of the Walubara Yidinji nation, a fact recognised by the Federal Court of Australia on April 2021. 119 years ago, in 1905, my great-grandfather, a great leader and a great Nullan of our people and warrior, was recognised by the colonial authorities and given a king plate proclaiming him as King of Cairns. This, I believe, also gave the recognition of the fact that his sovereign rights over this territory called Gimuy, that you know as Cairns, the land that was never ceded and will always remain Walubara Yidinji land. Our customary law and Western law have coexisted in somewhat an unequal relationship, effectively since 1876. Today, we want to take a new path, and we have taken this new path 4 years ago when we started this process to strengthen and to build on improving the relationships between the two laws. We continue to live and practice the principles of what makes us Yidinji. We hear the great landscape and the seascape speaks to us and reminds us who we are. This is where we get our laws and our customs. They remind us that we must not lose our connection to this, our Jabuja, that we need to strengthen the connection with our Gupi, our spirit dreaming. that creates our identity as Yidinji people living on our own land, cultures, according to our own tradition and laws in our own land. We are connected to our country, to our language and our culture, and to our understanding of history and our sense of trust, to our wholeness and our relationship with each other. The power that we possess as Yidinji people, as individuals and as families, that ability to work together, the unity that we continue to have in this foundation of everything of our people, to our understanding and to our communication with the spirit world that is important to us. A path we as Yidinji must take to honour the memory of our ancestors and to honour the memory of our Yidinji law men and our law women who taught us this law and who continue to teach us this law even to today. Today we come together with the practitioners of the English legal tradition to walk together and participate in the work in progress of creating a just society, free of racism, inequality and hate crimes. By working together, by walking this road together, we will continue to achieve respect and equality for all, to have our laws coexist such that two laws can better work together in strength, side by side, to mend and not repeat the wrongs and injustices of the past for a better future to benefit us all. And I want to echo now the words of a Canadian law professor, Farrow. Quote, "Even if we as lawyers are delivering the most principled, correct and fearless brand of legal advice, if the justice we deliver as a profession is out of reach for many in society, the principles of equality before the law, which we fundamentally seek to uphold, will always remain unrealised." We need to see changes in our justice systems, enabling access to justice as a kind of life people want to live, accessing equality, understanding, education, food security, housing, security and happiness without fear. I want to thank you and once again thank the Honourable Justice Henry for bringing us together and for us to continue to work together. And I thank you all for coming today to once again participate in this pulling together of a ceremony that recognises two laws. Thank you.
Can I now invite the Honourable Judge Fanton for her opening of the Law Year address.
Thank you, Commissioner Marza. We're honoured to be joined today by so many distinguished guests, Chief Justice, President, Chief Judge, Justices of the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, District Court, Deputy Chief Magistrate, Magistrates, the Far Northern Coroner, the Speaker of Parliament and Member for Mulgrave, the Shadow Attorney General, the Mayor of Cairns Regional Council, the Director General of the Department of Justice and Attorney General, retired judicial officers, members of the legal and broader community, colleagues and friends. I particularly welcome all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are here today. Thank you for joining us to mark the opening of the Law Year. I acknowledge the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji people as the traditional owners of this place. I acknowledge their survival, their care for and management of this beautiful country we live and work on, their living culture, their elders and their unique role in the history of this region and the life of this region. I particularly thank them for their generosity in being involved in this event each year, particularly at a very busy time of year, sandwiched between NAIDOC Week and the Cairns Indigenous Art Fair Week. The law has a tradition of marking the opening of the law year with a ceremony at which legal practitioners and judicial officers solemnly reflect on their professional obligations and their shared mission of delivering justice according to law. For many years, that involved a church service where lawyers prayed for guidance, but for the last 4 years in Cairns, it has involved a secular ceremony, one that enhances the traditional theme of professional renewal by recognising, respecting and involving the traditional owners of the land on which we strive to deliver justice to all. I again thank Justice Henry for his leadership in initiating this. Every legal practitioner takes an oath. They promise to truly and honestly conduct themselves in the practice of a lawyer of the court according to law to the best of their knowledge and ability. Every judge takes an oath. They promise to at all times and in all things do equal justice to all persons and discharge the duties and responsibilities of the office according to law to the best of their knowledge and ability without fear, favour or affection. I want to say something about truth and courage in the context of those oaths. Speaking of those oaths recently, in the United Kingdom, the Lady Chief Justice of England and Wales recently said this: first, and obviously, judges in the legal profession must not only know the law, but know how to observe it well. That means how to effect it or give effect to it. But that alone is not enough. To know the law requires us to know its spirit. The spirit of our law has always been one that draws on a diversity of experience. The common law is one that is made of many different threads, and we have drawn them historically from many different sources. The spirit of the law must be based on a recognition of and learning from diverse experiences and a proper understanding of our nation's history and the consequences of colonialism on our first peoples. What does this mean for us? I think being true to our oaths requires us to reckon with the history of our nation. Noel Pearson says there are 3 equally epic parts to our national story, 3 verses which form part of one song, which we must recognise to unite a nation. The first is our ancient Indigenous heritage, which is our nation's foundation. The second is the British institutions built upon it, including our courts. The third is the triumph of multicultural migration. To be true to our oaths, I think we must educate ourselves about the richness and complexity of Aboriginal history, culture and law. We must educate ourselves about our colonial settler history and its often brutal consequences for our First Peoples. We must educate ourselves about the frontier massacres which occurred at the hands of the native police, a semi-military force which operated without the intervention of judge, jury or the law, and whose role it was to disperse, which became a euphemism for kill, Aboriginal people. In Far North Queensland, this history is painfully close to home and relatively recent. We must educate ourselves about what followed the dismantling of that terrible system, which was a system of reserves that subjected Aboriginal people to total arbitrary control for the next 70 years and lasted in some places into the 1970s. We must recognise that we are a carceral culture. Like every other jurisdiction across Australia, Queensland continues to disproportionately imprison First Nations adults and children. The overrepresentation of First Nations people in Australia and Queensland prisons is evidence of a chronic failing in the administration of justice. We know from the research that how likely someone is to end up in jail depends on a number of factors underpinned by structural causes. Those factors include being in foster care, poor education, early contact with police, unsupported mental health or cognitive disability, alcohol and drug problems, unstable housing or homelessness, coming from a poor and disadvantaged neighbourhood, and being Indigenous. We know from the research that addressing these factors and the underlying structural causes of these causes, such as early abuse, racism, discrimination and poverty, with early intervention and support, materially reduces the risk of someone offending and ending up in jail. Following the failed referendum on constitutional recognition and a voice to Parliament, we must strive to meaningfully recognise First Peoples and their rights. Work must continue to provide First Peoples with meaningful roles and decision-making power in matters that uniquely affect them. Returning to the third aspect of what the Lady Chief Justice considered our oaths mean, observing the law requires moral courage. The judicial oath is not mere words. It reflects that judges must approach their duty fairly and without prejudice or bias, that they must act with moral courage, that they should be able to stand up to pressure, covert or overt, direct or indirect, that they should be able to make decisions that will sometimes be unpopular with politicians or the media, or indeed the public. Judges must treat friends and foe alike, that they should secure equal justice, access to justice, that they should not discriminate or permit prejudice to taint their decisions, and that they should not accede to the commands of the powerful, remains at the heart of the judicial oath. They must set aside their own social, religious or political views in trying cases. This kind of moral courage does not, of course, magically arrive upon appointment to the bench. Rather, moral courage is something that judges and magistrates develop in their careers before appointment. Where the judiciary is concerned, we do so as lawyers, as solicitors and barristers. This is demonstrated by the independence of the bar. Counsel or barristers in court demonstrate their courage every day in representing the difficult or unpopular clients, irrespective of their personal views, whether because of the nature of the offence with which they are charged or the cause they represent. Courage includes standing up to difficult judges. Moral courage also requires or stands behind the cab rank rule, which requires barristers to take instructions no matter what their views of their client may be, and requires or supports solicitors in taking on cases which are often unpopular. It is in that context that I ask you to listen carefully to the oaths of the judicial officer and the lawyer, who will now give their oaths of office. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Fanton. Very thought-provoking words. I hope some of those words certainly touch a space within your hearts and your thoughts. Can I now invite Her Honour Magistrate Sandra Pearson for the representative recital of oath and affirmation of office on behalf of the judiciary.
I, Sandra Pearson, do sincerely promise and swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, as lawful sovereign of Australia and to his heirs and successors according to law. And in the office of magistrate, I will at all times and in all things do equal justice to all persons and discharge the duties and responsibilities of the office according to law to the best of my knowledge and ability without fear, favour or affection.
I now invite Tegan Williams, the representative, for the representative recital of oath and affirmation of office on behalf of the legal profession.
I, Tegan Williams, do sincerely promise and affirm that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in the practice of a lawyer of this court, according to law, to the best of my knowledge and ability.
I now invite Karawai and Jamal Bilam to officially declare the law year open and to pass the courthouse ceremonial mace to Chief Justice Boskill.
Long before British law was established in Cairns, the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji people were already part of a complex legal system called law. Law is knowledge passed down orally. Our law refers to our culture, custom, beliefs and stories learnt from our story time and governs all aspects of our daily life. It is a guide to our understanding of our world, its origins and our place within it. It connects us to our country, our people, our ancestors, our creator beings, and all living and non-living things. This is represented through our visual arts, storytelling, ceremonies, totems, kinship, dances, music, and songs. All these components play a crucial role in preserving and passing on our ancient stories, often using symbolism and representation to convey deeper meanings. Our responsibilities and roles are to maintain the balance, a natural balance of spiritual, social, cultural, economic, political, environmental, physical, and knowledge systems, in order for everyone to work in unison for our survival and the survival of Mother Nature, and leaving behind a positive footprint for our future generations. Each member of the Gimuy Walubara Yidinji family understands their role and responsibilities, as well as what is acceptable and unacceptable behaviour within our society. The punishment for breaking law is no longer practiced, as British law now hands out the punishment for our people. Our law is not static. It evolves with the changing times and the experiences of our people. It is our source of strength and resilience. Overall, it is the profound expressions of our spiritual connection to the land, our ancestors, and our ongoing cycle of life. It is an integral part of our identity, our belonging, our well-being, and our worldview that embodies our rich cultural heritage and provides us with deeper insights and understanding into our relationships with nature and universe. Our law is look after Mother Earth and all living and spiritual things. Follow story time messages. Care for our people. Protect sacred sites and territory. Learn and pass on knowledge. Listen to your elders. Respect all things. I now
Declare the law years open. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. That concludes this morning's event. Before inviting Marun Kaufomau to conduct the closing of the Kawo and the call-out, I want to extend my gratitude to several individuals who made this day possible. First, thank you to all the participants in today's ceremony, particularly Guju Formau, Jamal Bilim Hendrik Formau, Marun Kaufomau, Yasmin Muller, Jasmine Creek, Dritju Formau, Chief Judge Devereaux, Magistrate Scoynes, Rochelle Logan, Kelly Goodwin. Your contributions were invaluable. I wish to thank the organising committee, Justice Henry, Judge Fanton, Stephen Tillett, Jessica Cole, Melia Ben, Richard Whitler. Your efforts ensured the logistics of this event ran smoothly, and I deeply appreciate the hard work and dedication. Additionally, I extend my thanks to all the ushers, to Miss Lee Turner, who have diligently worked behind the scenes to ensure that everything went off without a hitch. Lastly, a heartfelt thank you to our speakers, Her Honour Judge Fanton and Professor Henrietta Mari AM. Professor Mari has been, I believe, instrumental, and I'd like to highlight instrumental in educating and engaging the court and the organising committee. She generously shared her wealth of knowledge and ideas, and I'm grateful to you both speakers, for your inspiring words and your invaluable contributions. Thank you, and once again to everyone, I thank you for all your participation and support. I now invite Muron to conduct the closing of the Kawo and call-out.
The call and the call-out represent the communication to the elders at the start of ceremony to come join us. The secondary call represents respecting the spirit of our ancestors and thank them for being here as part of this ceremony. With the Kawa, we guide them back to the place we call Walubara, for they will watch, ever present. They will guide from above with their omnipresence. The people of unity, our belief systems and structures, and our laws. back. Now on the left.
Thank you, everyone.